Yeah. So can I go back in time and read it?
You could.
So one of the biggest benefits, I'd say, to starting a business is that it is a direct threat to government, and it does, and it's nonviolent, and it does. I think, in my opinion, it does, and I think a lot of people here, it does a lot more than activism or voting. When you find a problem that isn't readily solved, and you improve people's lives in a non-violent manner, in a voluntary manner, and what you're doing is you're basically decentralizing the system. Every new technology in our recent history has revolved around decentralization of that system. And the internet is a great example, the decentralization of information. Bitcoin is a great example, the decentralization of banking. So when you start a business, when you solve a problem, you're helping other people, you're doing it non-violently, and you're affecting a lot more lives than if you went out to vote or if you went out to help other people by throwing rallies or whatnot. So at least that's my opinion.
I agree.
So the title of tonight is Not Everyone, or Anyone Can Become an Entrepreneur. And I have bad news. I have bad news. Not everyone can become an entrepreneur. And my view is that anyone with the right mindset can become an entrepreneur. And that anyone can have that mindset, but it's a mindset that you must have going into it. And I think that any person who is open to those ideas, to that mindset, can start a business. So I'd like to provide a little background and of where I came from. My dad was born in a hotel, and he was born in a hotel that his parents owned. And so his parents were business owners, and then he went on to start his own business. And along with my dad, my uncles started their own businesses. And then my dad helped my mom start her own business. And on my mom's side, my uncle owned his own business. My brother, my sister, and now my younger sister all owned. But the bad news is I had so much pressure, all these people starting a business, I had to go start my own business or get made fun of every Christmas or something along those lines. But the bad news is I had so much pressure, all these people starting a business, I had to go start my own business or get made fun of every Christmas or something along those lines. But I mean, a lot of people say, oh, you started a business, everyone in your family started a business, but the reality is that the day I started my business, I had no idea what I was doing, and I can promise you that no matter how much experience you have in the real world, no matter how much information you have, the first time you start a business, you will have no idea what you're doing, and that's okay. That's part of the adventure. And I can promise you, you talk to any business owner and they'll all tell you the same thing. The first time they started a business, no matter how experienced they are, they won't know what the heck they're doing. And I often tell my friends that I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I get to go to work every day having no idea what I'm doing, and I get to drive home from work at the end of the day and I still have a job. It's pretty cool. So, I had this idea in high school, and the idea, I was walking with a friend in a mall, and ideas come dime a dozen. I'm sure everyone comes up with new ideas every day, and those ideas have been thrown around by many other people long before. And this idea was to start a clothing line that promotes individual liberty. And I toyed around with this idea for about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. And then eventually a friend, good friend, said, why don't you go and do it? And she helped me start the business, and off I went. No idea what I was doing. Luckily, I was still in college, but I still, it's a struggle. It's always an uphill struggle. And when you start a business, you quickly realize whether you love that business or not. And it's okay to start many different businesses. You have to find your passion. And for me, I made some money from my clothing line. Toward the end of college, I got bored, didn't like what I was doing, and I saw this great opportunity to purchase a precious metals company. So I purchased this company for $16,000, and it was at the time, very small e-commerce business. Bought it from a friend, continued to work on the business, and graduated college. And unfortunately, I didn't have enough money to sustain myself. So it was very humbling. I had to move back home from May until October. And while I was running my business, in October I decided I'm going to make the leap, and I came out to Denver, and I pretty much had nothing except for my vision and my business. From there, it was a struggle every day. Every day you learn something new. Every day, there are so many decisions that you have to make that could either make or break your business, and it's really tough. And when I started, another benefit that I think I had was I bootstrapped the business. Does anyone know what bootstrapping is? Bootstrapping is when you start a business without venture capital or without funds from outside, or a large amount of funds. So I started my business debt-free with very little capital, with my own money, and the money that I earned from the business was reinvested into the business to expand it. So it's a unique way of going about it. Most businesses, Fortune 500 businesses, started with very low or no venture capital. The owners would say all the same thing. When they started their business, it was all, they were inexperienced, they didn't have the money, they were overworked, and underpaid. So, and those are the largest businesses out there. You look at how Dell was started in a garage. So most businesses, or a lot of successful businesses, start with no funding, with very little capital and very little experience, which means anyone can start a business. No matter how much money you get paid, you are going to work yourself to death, and no amount of money will cover that. But anyway, moving on. So after 6 months of hard work, working in my apartment, I moved into an office, and that was really nice to have an office to say, I live at home, and my office, my business is at a separate location. That was pretty cool. And then 6 months down the road, I hired my first employee, and since then, I now have 3 employees and a couple of contractors who work for us. And we've made a lot of big strides. And there's really I'd say there's no right or wrong when you're going down the path of growth. You have a decision to make, and that decision is presented to you. You can make a decision left or right, or yes or no, or maybe, or all 3, or whatever. And it may be the right decision, it may be the wrong decision, but then you're going to be hit with another decision. And that decision can correct the decision before that. So it's a constant process of making decisions, seeing how those decisions affect your business, and making new decisions to improve those or correct them. So it's a long road. You're always learning, and it's always a struggle, but worthwhile. So some things that I've learned about myself is my ability to discriminate time, which I didn't really have before. I can look at something, I think, and decide, is that worth my while? Is that worth my time? And quickly say yes or no, or push it to the side. And in some parts of my life, I think that's affected me negatively. I don't stop and take time to connect with people that I probably should have or could have, just because I see my time as valued differently than it was a couple of years ago. I would say that I have a lot more self-confidence, so I definitely say start a business. If you want more self-confidence and you're passionate in an idea and you think that you can fulfill that idea. I also think that as a person, I've grown and learned so much over the last few years that I've probably learned my entire life in public school. So from that perspective, it's a great learning adventure. What I want to do is talk about some of the things that, some of the attributes that are good and some of the attributes that aren't so good about running a business. And because I think that a lot of people hold entrepreneurship as kind of a pillar, as a special individual or an individual that should be praised. And I don't know if that's the case, primarily because I think that a lot of people are entrepreneurial in their everyday lives. So, even Ludwig von Mises said that we are all entrepreneurs. And from my perspective, I'm not a big fan of the term entrepreneur. I'm more of a fan of the word business owner. So, some things that people don't realize is that owning a business requires dedication in more than one way. And it will suck all of your time. Every waking moment of your time will be dedicated to your business. If you have many different hobbies, if you have a lot going on, if you're an academic, if you love reading lots of books on a weekly basis, you can forget about doing those things. And this is for the business owner who runs a business full-time, not somebody who works 3 days a week as a hobby, but someone who runs their business all the time. So not only do you give up a lot of time, you literally give up sweat and blood and tears. And every business owner can say the same, that they have given up all of those things for their business, and especially sleep. Since I've had my business, I've had a lot of sleep deprivation. Business requires a lot of dedication. It takes a lot out of you, but it also requires a lot of responsibility, and that can be seen as good or bad. Of course, you have to bear the burden of all the decisions of your business, even if you are not the one taking that decision. So if an employee makes a decision, you have to bear the burden of that decision. It's kind of tricky because people, you ask people for opinions. Countless times I've asked people for opinions, friends and family, and they have said yes, they've said no, and it's tough because people that you care about a lot may say, no, you shouldn't do this, or no, this is a bad idea. And I've gotten that a lot. I've gotten that from family members. But if you think that's right, and with your knowledge, you have to ignore them, and you have to do what you know or you think is right. even against all odds, and that happens a lot. I've encountered times where individuals, my entire family said, no, you can't do this, don't do this, and I went against the grain. And I'm really fortunate that I did, because I made the right decision. So there's a lot of responsibility. It's a big burden to make these decisions, especially when a lot of people have differing opinions and you respect those people. So you have to make a lot of sacrifice. I think I already went over that. But the biggest thing, and it kind of combines all of that, is loneliness. As a business owner, and I'm sure any business owner and anyone that I've talked to, they're pretty darn lonely. And there's many different reasons for that. One is going back to the decisions. Only you can make those decisions. And the most difficult decisions you make are the ones you make alone. The rewards and the losses are there, but only you can be there for or acknowledge or accept all the rewards. You were there first. You made all the decisions, so you're the only. So when something successful happens, you are the only one who can appreciate it the most. The same thing with the losses. I mean, you made those bad decisions. Only you can bear the burden of those losses, and it can get pretty lonely. And it makes me wonder, even though I am an anarchist, the President of the United States must be pretty lonely, because he has a lot of decisions and a lot to bear. A few other things. I know that's kind of the negatives of entrepreneurship. Going to the positives, we have ego boost. Running a business is a huge ego boost. Recently, I went to this conference recently, and about 95% of the people had heard of Amagi Metals, my business, and all of them, pretty much every single person I went up to and I talked to, they said, thank you, we appreciate everything you do, and it was pretty incredible and a huge ego boost. So another thing is that it is so addicting. Once you get hooked, there's no going back. It's a thrill. I mean, it's almost a drug addiction. Every day is something new. I can't see my life or myself without my business, or running my business. It's really difficult because you have this addiction. I have been on painkillers the last 5 days, and it's been great. But even through the painkillers, like 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up on like a Saturday or something, and I realized, I had to get this email out. And so I woke up and came to and got through all the painkillers in my head and wrote this email, and I was really excited about getting it out. So it's a 24/7 job, but it is addicting, and it is so self-gratifying to look at something and to say that I produced this, I made this. So
you didn't build that.
So you learn a lot about yourself. You learn so much. I mean, it's such a great learning experience all around. So some recommendations to make your life easier if you are interested in going into business ownership is, and some of these I have not done yet, but I'm still on the search. So the first one is find a mentor. That's something that I have yet to find. I'm still looking, but I'm sure that they are out there. And I think that a mentor is a great person to have around. Find someone who has a business, not necessarily in your industry, someone who is more successful than yourself, who's been through what you've been through, who can be a pillar. And I think that's really important and something that a lot of business owners, or every business owner, should have.
And you'll have that through Liberty Lab, FYI.
So write down your vision. Your business is an extension of yourself. It is an extension of your vision. It's your vision coming to life. So make sure to write down your vision. What do you want to accomplish? Make sure you see that every day. Bootstrapping is really great. It's a lot harder to go that route. It's a lot more difficult, and the main reason why is every penny you earn, you reinvest in your business. So you don't have that much money to throw around. You know, you're very frugal, and so when you make mistakes, you make smaller mistakes. When you make mistakes, it's mistakes with your money and not somebody else's money. And you grow organically. So you may have some growing pains, but it's not going to cause any big issues than if you receive venture capital funds or something like that. The other one is go with your heart. I mean, and this is tricky because I'm a big fan of rationalism, big fan of thinking. I mean, I don't do it all the time, obviously, but I want to think rationally. But when you're in your business, go with your gut. It's usually the best way to go about it. At least that's what I found. Usually, your gut knows what's right. So, why do people not go into business ownership? Why don't they make the jump? I've heard so many great ideas. Recently, I've heard a lot of people come up to me and say, "Hey, I have this great idea," and I guess I stick to this because I say this a lot. That's not about the idea. People have ideas all the time. You can take any idea and make money off of it. It's not about the idea. It's about the execution of that idea. And so, don't sit around and make ideas. Make action. Do follow through with that idea, even if it takes one small step of looking for a domain name, for writing your vision down. It comes down to mentality, I think. And most people don't start a business because they don't have the mentality or they have some hang-up. And you can basically come up with any excuse, and that excuse is what's stopping you. It's not the actual idea or the actual business. And I'll give an example, or I was given a few examples today. A couple of them are, I'm too young, or I'm too inexperienced, or the opposite. I'm settled down, I have wife and kids, and I can't quit my job and start a business. But really, the only thing that's stopping you in those cases are yourself. You're not finding ways to take advantage of that. Or another one, not at the right time. But if you see an opportunity that creates value for the world, you should go for it. You will make the world better off. You will make yourself better off. And I think that a lot of it comes down to mental capacity. A lot of business owners are self-educated. They never went to college. A lot of business owners, something like 35% of them, have dyslexia. A lot of them, and they will admit, when we started a business, we had no experience. We had no idea what we were doing. So I think that a lot of the hang-ups that people have are mental. And I think that if you change your perspective, just tweak it a little bit. Like, here's a problem. What can I do to solve it? This is what I can do, and then you should go for it. And you should work on solving that problem and making people's lives better, rather than trying to create excuses for yourself. So that's my perspective.